what happens if you make too many or too little?
I get into trouble. Then we get into a problem that's called excess, or we miss sales. So when we have excess, we have to plan to sell the excess because floor space is very expensive in GTA. So we have to plan to sell this hammer maybe to somebody else at a lower cost or back to Canadian Tire and give them a better deal. If we didn't bring in enough, or Canadian Tire decides, no, we're gonna drop the price and we're gonna sell $3,000 now, then we try to plan it better the next time, and we have to account for potential lost sales.
Okay. So, and this is considered engineering?
This is part of industrial engineering.
Industrial engineering, okay.
Yeah.
So what else do industrial engineers do? Like, what is industrial engineering?
So for a couple of years, in the beginning of my career, I worked in quality assurance. I worked in an automotive plant where we had to make sure the product that we sold automotive, so we sold to like Ford, GM, we had to make sure the product is to the right specification. That being said, this thing is going to GM. It's, 14 by 14. I have to make sure it's exactly 14 by 14. If it doesn't, I make the batch fall and it gets scrapped and they produce another batch. So that was part of my job. To maintain production runs, as well as to do yearly inspections to the gauges. So in order to say that this is 14 by 14, there is something else that goes around it to make sure they spec it. It's not like a measuring tape. And you make sure that that thing is in spec. So I make sure that the product we measure is right, the product that measures the product is right. That's it, and then writing a whole bunch of reports. At that time, I did a lot of communicating with the customer as well. I traveled all over the place. At first it was cool, but it wore its novelty very, very quickly. That's what I did for a couple of years, so that was part of it.
Okay. Well, that answers my questions. I'm sure you guys have questions. What do you have? Yes? Can you speak up?
You know how you said, like, if Canadian, like, you sell something to Canadian Tire, like, the money that they give Canadian Tire, do you get some of it?
You know what? It's funny because we used to talk about this. Before I was hired with the company, my team used to get a percentage of their pay if they met the requirements. So, for example, we planned to sell $1 million of stuff to Canadian Tire, and we did. My team would get a percentage of what I get paid, not what we pay Canadian Tire, or sorry, not what Canadian Tire pays us. But that dropped about 5 years ago when the recession hit. Right now, only the sales team and marketing team gets a bonus for selling that, which technically isn't fair, but it's all good.
You have a good business mind. When
That's
you want to get a job, let me know.
Actually, that's a very good point because it's really funny because I work with the sales team and marketing team. They count and keep track of every piece that goes out because they get a percentage of that. So you can just imagine the kind of money that they get. It's pretty good.
Do you sell to individual people, like in their homes? Do you sell to them if they want to use that and they can't find it anywhere else?
Yeah, so we have a store. We have what's called, I don't know the exact term. Basically stores that are owned that we can sell to the public. We just have to be careful. We don't sell stuff that are exclusive to certain customers. But yeah, we can sell to you, could come into the store and you want a certain something, it's definitely there as well. I have something that's called an employee price. So, Victor can go out and buy a drill for $200, I can get it for $100. That's kind of part of my bonus for working there. And I've gotten quite a few for my husband, unfortunately.